Welcome to Transformers, the podcast about how business people and policymakers are creating a sustainable future. I'm your host, Kai Embren.
In today's program, my guest is Bert-Ola Bergstrand, a system entrepreneur. For those of you who don't know, he works with systemic change. He creates the conditions that encourage systems to change. As a typical system entrepreneur, Bert-Ola is a natural diplomat who can wear many hats and talk to senior and junior people alike and find languages that bring them together. He is a global action facilitator and a disruptor. He is an initiator, founder and co-founder of a number of international platforms and networks in the field of crowd impact economy that involve millions of people across the globe. He is currently working with transformation of neighborhoods and cities in collaboration. He develops networking tools to strengthen learning processes across communities, sectors, and stakeholders. Bert-Ola is now leader of the social innovation team in Trondheim City Transformation Program with the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. The city of Trondheim is a national and international hub for coordination of the European and United Nations Program for Smart and Sustainable Cities. Welcome, Bert-Ola. You are in Trondheim, isn't it? In Norway?
Yes, the city of Vikings.
Oh, I see. Okay. And you do something very exciting work up there. Trondheim are on the way to establish a new model to get the city to adapt and reach the sustainable development goals. And can you give the listener an introduction to the Trondheim program, Bert-Ola?
Trondheim, for people who don't know, is the third largest capital of Norway and has over a long time been, like you can say, the hub for R&D and innovation and science. The Norwegian University of Science and Technology is located here. And also the largest research institution in the Nordics, SINTEF, is located in this city. So it is sort of a small Cambridge, Oxford in the Nordics, with a lot of knowledge and a lot of science, a lot of thinking and exploring. And of course, it has 1,000 years of history. It's not a super big city. It's 220,000 with students here. The region has 400,000. So I think it has a bit of scale if you look at the global context. It has enough citizens to try out new things, but it's also small enough to do things. So it's also a good size, I think, of the region to build playgrounds or innovation districts or whatever words we are using in this context. So
when you look at Norway, it's a long distance from the south to the north, but why did Norway put the effort into Trondheim?
I think it has a long history of, like in the social contract, normally a place like this, it would be the main capital like Stockholm in Sweden or Oslo in Norway, but for historic reasons, the University of Norway, the NTNU, was located here. So I think it was a bit of in the social contract of the state. So in comparison to, for example, with Sweden, we have several technical universities in different cities, but here it's very much, I think, the most prestigious and highest trustworthy and number second, in fact, in terms of where people want to be employed. Just Google, this was a list from last week, that it's number 2 for the younger generation to have an employment as an organization, together with the high, cool tech companies and like that. There's a deep culture arena with music and culture, so it also has this deeper dimension of social capital that has been my field of interest for the last 15 years. So the place, the value of a place and the value of the people and the value of science and everything is coming together in this place in very interesting ways. So my role is a bit of trying out the new things together with the established things.
Now, we will come back to your role in this program, Bert-Ola, but I would like to clarify also that which influence do the university have on the municipality when we talk about policies and governance? When we think about the role of Trondheim as a change maker, what do they do that not others doing?
I think when you have as big a university as you have in relative terms, with the research institutions and other actors, they need actors to test out new things on. Because if you're a national university or international, you need to try out new things. So Trondheim becomes a playground for the university and research institutions. So they, as I see it, coming as a researcher to the city and asking questions and being part of new innovative projects, that sort of develops the city to be more up to date with changes. So to keep track of where the science is going, you need as a city be also tune into that sort of level of understanding society. So I think it's a mutual benefit there that pushes or pulls the city a bit, at least the institution as a city, forward in new areas.
Can you see any sort of support from the political part of this, and think about the leadership and the leadership in Trondheim as a city?
Yes, but I think also it has been a very professional organization on running the city. So that's my feeling. It has been quite effective in the more operational part of the city. But of course, to grow up in this place and 10 years sort of, I think people understand that this is a bit of the pride of the place. It's an understanding that this is very, very positive for the city as a whole.
Is it any one of the social development goals that has more of a priority for the work?
Water is, of course, very much health, food. This is very much a place where you have, with a really nice gastronomy, it's very good soil. So they have been good in food production over a long time. They recently had the Nordic Michelin award in January before the corona. So they have 3 restaurants in this place that are Michelin, has Michelin stars, and the first Michelin awarded restaurant in sustainability in the world. And that's very prestigious. So the combination of sustainability, food, innovation is very profound. It's also the European region of gastronomy 2022. Climate is, of course, super important, but there are 17 goals. So it has also been very important to work on in all fields and support the overall process of driving system innovation forward, or the transformation we are in. Where I'm sitting right now is the Sustainability Center in Trondheim, and here you have, this has been around for a few months now, but here you can say all stakeholders we are speaking about are sitting. They can come in and it's like a pop-up hub. And so you have the Business Association of Trondheim, which is a bit the umbrella for business. So they are very interested in, I would say, the whole debate around sustainability, not the least circular economy, which is a bit of a hot topic right now. You have a local banks here to mention a few who are very occupied with the SDGs, the 17 sustainability goals, development goals. But you have, I would say, in all branches, you have actors who want to be part of this. It's not of course, we meet the people or the businesses or organizations who are maybe a bit early adopters, who want to go a bit ahead. It's not difficult to find people who want to make a difference.
You said also that Trondheim have a connection to the global arena, or the international work, renewing processes and models for the UN.
Yes.
What is the connection outside Trondheim with the work they are doing?
Yeah, there are multiple, but right now Trondheim is since 1 year, 1st of October 2019. They are secretariat for a network of excellence in Norway. So there are around 30 cities and regions trying to take a bit of a country approach in taking the lead of transformation towards the sustainable development goals. So Trondheim is sort of the secretariat for the other actors, meaning coordinating the network, coordinating to the actors in Europe and global in UN. It's under the program of U4SSC, United for Smart Sustainable Cities and Communities, and which is run by ITU, UNESE, and UN Habitat, and they are supported with 14 other UN organizations. So it is a program for smart, sustainable cities, which has a secretariat for Norway here. And what I know, it's the first country in the world who is organizing a whole country like this. So it's a bit of a test as well for other actors, like a city network. I have been over many years been exploring, we can say, the new economy and what do we mean with the new economy. So I say it's a bit of emergent, it's a new phenomenon, it's a new way to organize. Some speak about the networked economy, some speak about the impact economy, some people speak about the crowd economy. So you can say it's sort of something new happening. It has to do with technology because we can connect as never before. We can finance a new way with crowdfunding. We can ideate a new way. We can build participation with cities in a new way. So all this is part of this phenomenon emerging. So what I'm doing right here and have been doing the last 4 years in different projects is like taking in this new things of organizing into a bit more traditional way of organizing as a city, university, research institution that I was speaking about, which is much more global. You know, you are part of this since many years also. So maybe it's not the traditional way to organize and build partnerships anymore, because you can suddenly connect with actors that maybe are not in Brussels or London. They are maybe in Karachi or in Tokyo or in Johannesburg or in a rural village in India. So suddenly it's another arena here. So that has been very much my role of like see how a traditional actor constellation here can cooperate or do something together with actors maybe in this field.
So you connect people and organizations to be through social media?
Yes, that's a big, of course, how we do it in practice. So we test a lot. We do a lot of event activities, getting people to get used to social media among the servants. We do event at the university and the city and others. So in that way, the people here learn a little bit about this new phenomenon and maybe also build, of course, new partnerships and new business opportunities or new research projects. Or we can already see that in applications, for example, you start to build a new language that could be attractive more for the entrepreneurs, for example, because maybe the new digital entrepreneurs or nomads or whatever term we use, maybe they don't want to be part of a bit of a boring old way of organizing. They are used to new things. So we need to find this sort of new language, this new way of building something we want to work against.
And you work together with all type of age groups and
Yes,
can you see
absolutely.
anyone that are more participating in the process?
Different levels. In terms of using social media more deliberately and effectively, I would say, without doing research, but I have a sense as I do it every day, many hours for many years. I would say that I have a feeling that people outside Europe, for example, in Bangalore or India or Pakistan or Bangladesh, or people that are far away and maybe don't have an opportunity, for example, to get a visa to travel to Europe or Nordics or something, they have been forced in using social media for survival or getting new opportunities. So they, in a sense, I think it's better to really use the tools for some kind of outcome.
I have a feeling that this is nothing new for you as a social media activist, Bert-Ola. And but when we talk about social innovation, social capital, and learning processes, there has been a very important part of your work many years. And many people around the world are recognizing Bert-Ola Bergstrand as a very good social media networker. And but if you look back in your history, well, how did it start?
I grew up in a small community in the heart of Sweden, as I said, a small rural village in Östersund, outside Östersund, and in Jämtland, in the middle of Sweden. And that was a place where community was everything. You build with relations, so it was sort of what we speak about, the network, the way of doing things. But of course, it was very local. You did it in the local village, played soccer or whatever, but community was how you built the local society. And over the years, for different reasons, I came to Gothenburg, which is a bit bigger place, and the second city of Sweden, where I started to work at the university and the region of building new constellations, so more clusters as we speak today, how we can use different models of working together. And often a term that are frequently used is social capital, so like the relations among the people. The relations have a value. So I did that for many years, 2006 to 2010, checking out how a region, in this case West Sweden, could work in a better way together, what hindrances, what possibilities there are, and exploring the potential of social capital.
But it didn't stop in the western part of
No.
Sweden. You reach out also to outside Sweden, and as I understand that you connect to the social capital market in California.
Yes,
tell me
that's
more
a bit
about that.
Yeah, there are many very interesting stories there, but in this project that was called, which I find a bit interesting as well, it was called Dynamic Growth Capital, Dynamisk Tillväxtkapital in West Sweden. One way of this regional project was also to go out and explore what's going on in other places outside Sweden. So we went to a few conferences, and in 2008 we went to Malta to a social capital conference. And in that conference, there were a lot of people, scientists, speaking about social capital and the trust of society. Because to mention also, what is social capital? It's trust, relations, working together. 1 + 1 is larger than 2. Sort of that is the essence of social capital, networks of trust. So in this context, we met a lot of people working in the field, but very few were working with it in practice. There were more academics. So 2009, in September, we set up a conference in West Sweden, in Gothenburg, and the city of Lidköping on social capital and urban policies. Sweden Conference 2009 on social capital and urban policies. And in doing that conference, we wanted also to have examples from practice working on this. And I was the project manager, the producer of the conference, together with some other from the team. And I started to explore who is out in the world working on this. And of course, many are building networks and communities. In a way, they do it because that's who they are, or they have been good at it, but not explicitly doing it social capital. So I found 2 actors. One in Scotland, Colin Campbell, Assist Social Capital was the organization, and the other was Social Capital Markets in San Francisco with Kevin Jones as a co-founder at that time. So that was late 2008. So SOCAP had just happened 2 months ahead of that. So we got acquainted by email. And I still remember the first night with Kevin on email. So because I got maybe 20 emails back of, are you in Sweden? I'm in San Francisco. And how are you working there? And like that. So it started very much from that point. A few months later, Kevin and his wife Rosalie came to Sweden. So like finding out what's going on in Scandinavia, because we both saw that social capital, the Nordic model, and social capital in the US model is very different. So social capital markets is basically social capital and markets, but the and is not there. So it's called SOCAP. But we had a lot of social capital in Nordics, but maybe not the market in the same way. So it's like a good pollination of the best from, we can go a lot into that, what's the difference, but maybe they were missing social capital in the US. It's a lot of focus on business solving the problems in the broken society, as they said, but while we have maybe another way to organize. So that has been very interesting journey to follow that.
Yeah,
but that was how I came into SOCAP.
So that's from 2009, and even today you have strengthened the connection to SOCAP.
Yes, and many other networks, because that was a bit of, not the only, but definitely the largest, and probably a bit San Francisco, California, and a bit of a hot place for innovation in general and the environment. So, and it also drew a lot of people from other places to come there. So over time, other actors meet, of course, and start to do things. So today there are hundreds of hubs around the world that probably are triggered from there, but also emerging from their own. This phenomenon is not, that's one of my takeaways for looking back 15 years, that this is a transformation much bigger, because it looks like if you go into, I'm sure, because I looked into Russia recently, there seems to be a lot of really cool things happening in the cities in Siberia or other places, and they are not connected to these arenas, but they are also doing cool things. So it's something deeper, I think, going on there.
If we look at SOCAP's platform and reaching out, do we have other platforms that you think are leading on the social media market?
Yeah, I know. I mean, the SOCAP platform, there are a number of similar platforms. They seem to have same elements. First of all, SOCAP was built on a very thorough analysis and mapping of the gaps in funding for sustainable solutions. So the first thing they did was a very good map. I recently looked for it because it's fantastic, but I couldn't find it. I think it was on an old server. It was called Collective Intelligence, and it was Kevin Jones and Gary Bowles in Google and some other persons who did this map. So they had a really good mapping of the funding, the lack of funding in certain sectors of sustainability. On top of that, they built a very nice narrative, the SOCAP.
Bert-Ola, let us listen to Kevin Jones. I did an interview with Kevin in San Francisco some years ago. And he pointed out some of the key issues for SOCAP, but also over the society around us. Don't be scared about the noise around us. We were seagulls. We were by the water in San Francisco Bay area.
We wanted to validate the market at the intersection of money and meaning, the place between giving and investing that had the same goals as philanthropy, but could be financially sustainable because you get paid back, which you don't in philanthropy. With philanthropy, you lose all the money. With aid, the money doesn't come back typically. So we wanted to say that you could make doing good sustainable. Because if you look at the world, there's not enough money in philanthropy, in all the foundations, or in all the money that people give to solve our problems. There's not enough money in government. There's less money in almost all governments now. So that business has to do its part to help us solve problems like the transition to climate change, and also help ameliorate the risk of financial exclusion. That everyone who has is at risk from the folks who have not, especially if they believe there's no path upward. Even the chairman of Goldman Sachs is saying that there's a systemic risk through financial inclusion that you have to deal with. And philanthropy can't solve it, and governments can't solve it. So the market has to become a tool for building the world we want. I think we can change the nature of the dialogue and the overall narrative from the market as the ravening wolf serving the rich and the power of empire to the market can serve community, can serve you, can serve me, can serve my children, can serve my grandsons, and can serve other people. So I think we have to bring the market back under control. We have to change the story in a really deep way. That's what we're about. At first we wanted to validate ourselves and say there's really a market. Now it's like, okay, yes, there's a market, but actually there's a movement. And the market has to become the servant of a movement.
I think the success over the years, why it has been, in this field at least, has been very successful in comparison to other platforms. But you have other platforms similar. You have Sankalp in India and Africa, which is also a bit similar. You have the elements of, you have a place where you meet, which is in that case it's called Sankalp. You have a sort of a consultancy firm or building solution firm. In Sankalp's perspective, it's called Intellecap, intellectual capital. And then they have an investment firm called Avishkar. So often you find these elements in the new markets. You have where do the people meet and build community? What entity is it doing the work in between, and then what is it that invests in the entrepreneurs?
If you go back to look at Sweden, and where is the most important developer of social media networking on social innovation and social capital today, as you see it?
In Sweden, we have Norrsken in Stockholm.
Norrsken, is that the place?
Norrsken House and Norrsken Foundation. And then you have social innovation in Malmö, which a bit also.
It's connected to the university, or?
Yes. So it's always some kind of actor who is leading the cluster. In US and in India, I think globally, it's very often an entrepreneur who takes the lead in building these new spaces or these new entities. While maybe in Europe, it's a bit more, the feeling I have, more starting maybe from a city or a government program, or we need to do this. And maybe symbiosis will emerge between the government or the city region / and then to the entrepreneur.
Well, I understand that we have different development in different parts of the world, but you have also been connected to networking even in Africa. What sort of work do they do in this continent?
It's extremely interesting development in these micro hubs all over I would say I was just the other week looking back at Africa, and I think I'm connected I think there are 54 countries in Africa, if I'm not mistaken. We are connected to at least 40 countries with hubs. They have been doing something called Sankalp Africa in Nairobi 6 or 7 times. So this largest impact investing conference in Africa. But beyond that, there are this, like I said, this development that is going on all around the planet where entrepreneurs starting to come together. It's some local entrepreneur who builds a community, maybe in the village or in a small house or whatever, and then start to connect up digitally using social media tools. And, organically they grow this. And when they start to connect with others, suddenly they get a bit of critical mass, and then maybe next step evolves out of that. So we are like an emergence of this networked patterns of actors finding each other now since many, many years. More people around the world see, and not the least the younger generation. If you go to startup events, which I have been doing a lot, and listen to the pitches they give, what are they trying to do, the entrepreneurs, even if they don't say that they are an social entrepreneur or they want to maybe they don't say themselves that they are social entrepreneur, but what they try to achieve has some kind of social environmental impact in the business model or how they present. I would say it's more, we are moving in this direction in one way or another overall. That's a big force out there.
We have now touched sort of US, the Nordics, Africa, but it's also development in this field also in India and Pakistan. What's your experience from Asia perspective?
Probably it's the fastest because there are also a lot of people there. So I think probably there is a correlation between the number of brains you have and this innovation speed. So if you have enabling structures for sharing knowledge, there is a lot of people there, and some people of them, they find other people quicker than others, and they start to work together, and so it's fantastic to see how many people want to make a difference in their local communities or in other ways. And today they can share that. They can share to a lot of other actors, so they can speed up the process. So it's fantastic to see, because there are hundreds of millions of people, billions.
But you, with this experience you have, and also to tell the listener, how could they be involved in this sort of bridge building and networking?
Start to find a community. Probably, I guess many people who listen to this, for example, I guess they are already part of a local community, most likely. If you're not, then you should find it. Looking at your passion, what you really want to do as a person or organization. But start with yourself. Then go out, because that is not what everyone has done. Go out and find the similar organizations outside Europe or your closest bubble here. So find some like-minded passion or interest in another part of the world and start to connect with them. Connect with some people in a community on Facebook or in Twitter or other arenas. So connect is step one. Find it, of course, is step one. Connect with some people there who seems interesting. Step 2. 3, start to speak with them. 4, make some interview online, social media, for example. 5, make a small video of it. Start to build your own channel or your own knowledge pool. Maybe there are many steps, but step 1 is start to go out and explore in the field of interest. So it's something you want to do. It's not something you feel you have to do. Try to go to something you want to do. And when you find other people who do similar things, then this sort of, wow, are you doing that? That gives energy, and then you start to do things. So I would recommend that to explore. And there are hundreds, there are millions of communities out there, so it's not a lack of things to do and communities to connect with.
So if people will follow you, Bert-Ola, where do they find you? Where are you on social media?
On Facebook, you find my name. Just Google there and you can follow. And you can look at some of the profiles that are there on the wall. Some of them you can go to SOCAP Network, or you can go to Learning Societies. You can start with that, SOCAP Network of Learning Society. You can join there, and you can just inbox me and I will share some other places so you don't drown in this. That's a bit of the challenge in this world of hundreds and thousands of communities out. Where do you start and where do you go? Because you can easily be a bit overwhelmed of navigation this space. I also think that is a bit of the knowledge you need to have in the future to navigate these flows of data or information or knowledge. Otherwise it will be too much and you just want to plug out and delete the app. That's the first thing you do, maybe.
So you are engaged in a lot of learning activities and learning society networking.
Yeah.
And what is the purpose in the end?
You can be a force for something bigger than yourself.
Thank you so very much, Bert-Ola.
Thank you very much. It was great being here.
I'm Kai Embren. Follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn, where I will be announcing the future guests to this podcast. And you can expect about 2 programs a month. And each guest has a unique story of making business and society sustainable. So find out more. Visit my homepage, kaiembren.org. Thank you for listening.